How's it going, everybody? My name is Salty and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 assault rifles here in Black Ops Cold War. Now, before we get into this video, I just want you guys to make sure you hit that subscribe button for me so you don't miss any of my daily Call of Duty videos. Then make sure you also smash the like button so this video can reach other people looking for the same kind of content. Now, just keep in mind this list is completely subjective. That means your list could be completely different than mine. One of the best things about Call of Duty is the balance of the weapons and all the weapons serving different purposes for different play styles. So with that being said, we're going to jump into that right now. But like I said, it's completely subjective. Your list could be completely different from mine, but I highly recommend you give the class setups I give you a try and then let me know what you think of them. Let's jump into it now. Now at number 5, I'm going to have the FARA 83. Base statistics for the FARA are extremely good in the bullet velocity, effective damage range, and then overall movement categories of the weapon. It's meant to be used as more of an aggressive build, somewhat like the Groza and somewhat like the AK-74U in a way. It is meant to be used somewhat like an SMG, but still give you the ability to take those medium-range gunfights. So it's not necessarily a weapon you're going to want to be using like the EM2 or the Krig 6, where you're taking extremely long gunfights. The overall damage output is much lower compared to those two weapons, but like I said, at an aggressive rate of what you're supposed to be using the weapon, this thing is actually extremely good. This may be a hot take and people may disagree with this, but like I said, it's 100% subjective. But I'm going to give you guys my go-to class setup here for the FARA 83. It's, like I said, an aggressive AR. That's exactly how I have it built out. Starting here, we have the Gracey suppressor. This is going to give you the ability to stay off the map hidden from the enemies. You also get some recoil control as well. Because you're going to be running around the map somewhat like an SMG, you do need that ability to stay off the map. It makes it much easier to streak up and go for a nuclear, or even just get your score streaks as a whole. Down to the barrel, you're going to want the 14.8-inch ultralight here. You just gain overall movement speeds for the weapon because we are playing very aggressive. Now, as I said, the base statistics for the effective damage range and bullet velocity are really high here. We got a 43 meter effective damage range and then the 619.65 meter per second bullet velocity. It's only down at a base damage of 30, but like I said, it shoots extremely fast. The fire rate is quite impressive there. And of course, like I said, you're running around aggressive. So you don't really need anything else in the effective damage range category. You can definitely take medium range gunfights with ease. And then of course, the bullet velocity on that side of things, it is not necessary to really have any more. Those strafe speeds are very important, especially because technically the movement speeds are slower than SMGs, but this really does help the cause. Down to the magazine, I go with the 50 round mag. I do not feel the need for an underbarrel while going with the Gracey suppressor muzzle with the recoil control there and then the ultralight barrel. There's not really much recoil to be controlled. And that's the reason we're just jumping right down to the magazine and skipping that underbarrel. It just gives you the ability to maximize that ammo capacity, but not sacrifice too much in that aim down sight speed either. For the handle the GRU elastic wrap, this is going to be for the most amount of aim down sight speed as possible. The ability to drop shot, and of course the flinch resistance. This is just going to be for the snappy aim. It's an aggressive build, so like you are going to need fast ADS speed. Now, if you were to compare this to a different assault rifle at longer ranges, aim down sight speed isn't necessarily all that big of a deal just because you have longer to aim down those sights, pick people off at medium and long ranges. So this is going to be one that's very important here. And then finishing us off, we have the KGB skeletal stock. You're going to want the most amount of sprint to fire speed while playing aggressive. Let's jump over to number 4. Now at number 4, I have the EM2, which is the complete polar opposite of that FARA 83. Best used at medium and long ranges and best used playing extremely slow. This thing is very accurate, high damage, but slow fire rate. I really loved the EM2, and since the nerf of this particular weapon, it is very balanced, but at the same time, I don't know if there's a weapon that really outclasses it in the medium range due to the fire rate. So we're going to jump over to the class setup. The Microflex LED is where we're starting here. My preferred optic of choice. You guys can really go with whatever you're comfortable with here. Down to the muzzle, we have the agency suppressor. Just like the FARA, the ability to stay off the map, especially if you're going for nuclears or big streaks, you're definitely going to need this to not get red dot chased around the map. Staying hidden is going to be a very big asset as part of this build. Now down to the barrel, we have the 25.8-inch task force. This is going to be necessary since the nerf. Without the task force barrel, it does have a very slow TTK. But while adding the task force brings the damage up to 45, the fire rate is still low, but you have a great effective damage range of 44.58, and then the bullet velocity is up to 928.8. Without the task force barrel, I feel like this weapon is not very viable. But at the same time, I really do enjoy the weapon once the task force barrel is on there. Down to the body, we have the SOF target designator. This makes it easier to see your targets. While aiming on the sights, there's not really much need to say there. There's no cons to running it. Down to the underbarrel, we have the field agent grip. You're going to need this because we're going with the task force barrel. You do sacrifice some recoil control in return, but while having the field agent grip here, it is much easier to use. 5% in the vertical and 15% in the horizontal recoil control here. Down to the magazine, we're going with the 40 round mag. Just the most amount of bullets here while not sacrificing aim down sight speed. It's not an aggressive build, so we do not need anything like a fast mag here, but plenty of bullets here. 40 is plenty with a slow firing weapon like the EM2. Down to the handle, the airborne elastic wrap. Much like the FAR 83, you will need the snappy aim if you get into a close range engagement. This is not a weapon you want to take close range engagements with. I'll repeat that over and over again. Close range engagements with this thing will not result in success because of the slow fire rate. If you get in an engagement like a FAR 83, an XM4, or really any SMG, there's a chance you're probably not going to win that gunfight, but you do need that snappy aim to lock onto targets if you do get into that situation. You also get the flinch resistance and the ability to drop shot, of course. Now down to the stock, the Raider. I am just a very big advocate of sprint to fire time here. If you guys play slower than I do, you can definitely swap this out for something like the SAS Combat here for some more shoot moving speed. But in particular, I am a different kind of player than maybe you are. I definitely prefer fighting in the medium range versus the long range, so sprint to fire time is important. We're going to now jump over to number 3. Now at number 3, we have the Krig 6. The Krig, in my opinion, is definitely outclassed by the EM2 at medium range, but when it comes to long range, lower recoil and accuracy, this is where this is on top of the EM2. This thing is much easier to use than the EM2. It has a faster fire rate. The recoil control is almost unneeded, especially with this class up. There's basically none, and it has an insane headshot multiplier. So there's a reason this is at number 3. It becomes the next best assault rifle in line, especially when you talk to the pros. They really did find some success with this, and like I said, at long range, there's nothing really in the assault rifle category that can beat it. Now we're going to go over to the optic here, just like the EM2, the microflex LED. Like I said before, you guys can go with whatever you're comfortable with here. Down to the muzzle, you're going to want the infantry compensator. This is going to be for 12% vertical recoil control. Like I said, this weapon combined with the muzzle and underbarrel has basically no recoil to be controlled. It is extremely easy to pick people off of head glitches and take longer range engagements. Down to the barrel, you're going to need the Ranger, strictly because we're going for longer range engagements. That's the whole point of this build, is going to be medium long range engagements. So the Ranger barrel is going to give you 126% bullet velocity. The effective damage range is 50 meters, and that's extremely far, but you're going to need those bullets to connect at 50 meters extremely quickly. It's more or less like hit scan with this weapon. If you don't know what hit scan is, basically means the bullets connect immediately. There is no delay. You don't need to lead your shots in any form or fashion. Down to the body, we have the SOF target designator to make it extremely easy to see your targets. Down to the underbarrel, we have the field agent grip. Like I said, combine this with the muzzle, there's little to no recoil to be controlled. 5% vertical and then 20% to the horizontal recoil control. Down to the magazine, I have the 40 round mag here. This is going to not sacrifice any aim down sight speed, but at the same time, you're getting some extra bullets in the magazine. If you're playing on a smaller map like Crossroads Strike, Diesel, Miami Strike, Nuketown, you can definitely bump this up to like the 50 round mag. You shouldn't find any disadvantages there. Down to the handle, the airborne elastic wrap, pretty common trend here. I think I run this on almost every single assault rifle in the game. We have the airborne elastic wrap here strictly for the aim down sight speed, the ability to drop shot, and then of course the flinch resistance. And like I said, the sprinter fire speed is a preference for me. I enjoy being able to pick my weapon up and shoot right away. So that's why I have the Raider here, 30% added to your sprint to fire speed, and then 40% to the aim walking movement speed. The SAS combat stock is definitely an option here for slower paced players, adding the 5% shoot moving speed and then keeping the 40% aim walking movement speed. But if you do find yourself getting a little impatient and of course playing a little more aggressive, the sprint to fire speed is going to be your best friend. Now we're going to jump over to number 2. Now at number 2, we have the XM4. This is the jack of all trades weapon, all reliable in my opinion. It is very good at close range, very good at medium range, and definitely can be used at long range if you have some good accuracy added to your weapon. Now for the optic here, strictly like I said, preference. I prefer the microflex LED on a majority of my assault rifles, but again, use whatever you're comfortable with here. Using what you're comfortable with is going to be where you'll find the most success. For the muzzle, like the Krig 6, we're going with the infantry compensator for vertical recoil control. You get 15% here. If you find yourself very easily controlling the recoil, you could definitely jump over to something like the agency suppressor so you can streak up a little easier. This gives you only 7%, but like I said, some people are better at controlling recoil than others. So like if you struggle with the recoil, the infantry compensator is going to be your best friend. If you're controlling it well, agency suppressor is going to be another good option here. Down to the barrel, we have the 13.7 inch Ranger. 100% bullet velocity, just like the Krig 6. This is going to be best used because you can take gunfights at all ranges. You need the bullet velocity if you're going to take a gunfight at extremely long range, and then even medium to long range gunfights there. But there's also not really a better barrel that suits the weapon at the end of the day. You do not need more effective damage range. It's at a very solid 45.72. You really shouldn't be taking anything over 45 meters. That's an extremely long gunfight. And you don't need more damage to the weapon. It's extremely viable just the way it is. When you go to add this task force barrel, the recoil is almost uncontrollable. It's very sporadic in the horizontal category. Vertical, you could probably control, but once it starts bouncing side to side, there's really no jumping back from that. Let's jump down the body, just like the other ARs, the SOF target designator to make it much easier to see your targets while aiming down the sights. Field agent grip here is going to be for some more vertical recoil control, so you do have the ability to take those longer range gunfights. Down to the magazine, I go with the 40 round mag, just like the Krig 6. If you're on a smaller map, you could definitely jump down to that 50 round mag. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, 40 bullets is a lot unless you're playing on a small map. You get to keep your snappy aim because this weapon does have the ability to play aggressive. For the handle, the airborne elastic wrap, pretty simple here. Just like the other weapons, most amount of aim down sights, the ability to drop shot, and then the flinch resistance. In finishing off this build with the Raider pad, nothing out of the ordinary here. You can use it aggressively, you can use it slowly, but you're going to need the sprint to fire speed if you plan on playing aggressive, just like the Krig and just like the EM2. If you find yourself as a slower paced player, you can definitely go to the SAS combat here for an actual moving speed, but with the way the XM4 is really built out, it is best used at close and medium range while having the potential to take long range gunfights. So it's definitely more of an aggressive AR in my opinion. Now we're going to jump over to number 1. So the AK-47 is where we lie at number 1. I have judged this weapon extremely harshly throughout the entire primary year of the game's life cycle and through even out year 2. But once sitting down, using the weapon, getting used to it, getting used to the recoil control and the overall movement, I realized why it was the first weapon gentlemen agreemented from the pros. This thing is actually ridiculous, and I'm surprised it was never talked about because it's actually overpowered. Base statistics are great. The weapon hits like an absolute truck, insane damage. It reminds me somewhat of like a Scar from MW3 and BO2, or even like the Rampart from Black Ops 4. This thing is actually extremely fun to use and definitely deserves that number 1 spot. Let's jump into these attachments here, starting with the Grue Suppressor. You don't really need much in the vertical category. That's why the Grue Suppressor only gives you 6% here, but you get that ability to stay off the map so you can streak up much easier. If you still find yourself struggling with recoil control in the vertical category, the Spetsnaz Compensator is also a good option. It brings it up to 9% there. For the barrel, this is something that I never really use on ARs, but like I said, after really using the weapon, testing it out, the 18.2-inch VDV Reinforced Heavy is going to be a very good barrel of choice here. It brings your effective damage range up to 66.03, and then the bullet velocity to a very respectable 877.5 meters per second. This gives you the ability to take long-range gunfights. I don't highly recommend you do that, but if you get in that situation, you can take the gunfight, and you probably will win if you're accurate. And then, of course, the bullet velocity, so the bullets connect much better. I really suggest you stick to the medium range with the AK-47 because that's where it outclasses just about everything in the game. There's really not a weapon since the nerf of the Tech 9 that can beat the AK-47 at a range of 15 to 30 meters. Now, sliding down to the underbarrel, unlike a lot of the ARs, the Spetsnaz grip here, or the field agent grip as it's called on other builds, this one does not give you vertical recoil control. The horizontal recoil control is one of the biggest issues with the AK-47, but the Spetsnaz grip here gives you 18%. It makes it very, very manageable. Like I said, it doesn't give you any vertical, but that's not the problem with this AK-47. People automatically assume that recoil control or high recoil weapons mean it shoots up into the sky. That is not the case. Vertical recoil control is very easily controlled, even if you don't realize you're doing it. It's when it's bouncing side to side that you really don't know how to control, especially on controller. But the Spetsnaz grip, you'll see in any AK-47 video you watch, it's definitely the best option here. For the magazine, I go with the 40 round mag because I don't want to sacrifice any aim down sight speed, and 40 bullets is actually quite a bit here in the AK-47. The reload quickness isn't all that slow, and as you can see, we're not going with a handle, so we're not gaining any in return. So we need to keep that aim down sight speed down. And that's another reason the AK-47 is above the rest. You can run 5 attachments on the AK-47, which is a big asset. You can run Flak Jacket and Tactical Math, Ninja, Gung Ho. You can run Ghost. You can just run all those perks, which is just like I said, a huge asset at the end of the day. And finishing us off here with the build, the KGB skeletal stock. Sprint to fire speed is being added, aim walking movement speed. I just don't know why I judge this weapon so harshly. It is by far the best AR here in Black Ops Cold War. I did say this weapon is subjective, so I would love to hear what you guys have to say about my weapon choices, and I would love for you guys to list your top 5 down there for me. There's not going to be any gameplay to feature with this list, but I am going to cover each and every class setup in separate videos so you guys can get a look at exactly what I was referring to. We're going to have another video later on today where we're covering the bullfrog, so I hope you guys turn on your notifications so you guys don't miss that. Like I said, we're gonna have a video for each and every one of these weapon class setups here in the future on the channel. So I hope this video was a little informative. I know it's a little different. I know I'm normally strictly a gameplay YouTuber, but I'm trying to change it up for you guys. We're gonna do this for a lot of other weapons. We're gonna have a top 5 SMG list coming very soon, along with my updated settings. So like I said, make sure your notifications are on. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you could make sure you hit that like button for me, that'd be absolutely awesome. If you're new to the channel, make sure you also smash that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video.
What?